Hey guys, and welcome back to another Conan Exiles video. Today we are on the border between the lower desert and the jungle, creating a large mansion. This build will almost exclusively use pieces from the new Treasures of Turan DLC pack. This is a pretty large build and it took me about 2 hours just to build the shell from scratch, add another hour and a half to furnish, then another hour and a half when I realised half of my clips were corrupted and had to tear it down and rebuild. Fun. Because I did have to re-record the building process after I filmed the final version of the build, there may be some small inconsistencies, but in general they won't really matter too much. Nevertheless, I'm actually still very happy with this build, so without further ado, let's get started. Firstly, we'll of course start with the base plate. This is a very large base that we split into multiple rooms. The blueprint for the base plate is on the screen now, though the room layout won't be the same for the second floor, but we'll get to that when the time is right. Next, for the walls. We'll start by placing doorways, window frames and walls on the ground floor to mark out where the rooms will be placed according to the blueprint. The walls of this floor will be 2 tiles high, and I also placed a lot of windows in the main hall of the build as I want a lot of natural light coming in. These windows will extend almost all the way up to the roof, which you will see when we get to constructing the roof itself. When the ground floor walls were done, I then placed ceilings atop the walls covering the longer part of the build at the back, extending them out forwards by a tile and placing wedge platforms on either side. This will be where the stairs will lead up to in the main hall, with platforms either side looking down into said hall. For the second floor walls, I used a different layout that you can see on screen now, utilising a corridor that runs just behind the balcony, with a smaller central corridor following the flow of the stairs. Again, I built the walls on this floor up 2 tiles high, placing doors and window frames around the floor, though this floor does have less windows than the ground floor. So next for the roof. This is probably one of the biggest and most complex roofs in terms of actual structural support, so let's get started. We use walls and slope sides to build the roof up to a peaked apex. Firstly, of course, I built the walls all the way up to the peak, then starting to place down the sloped roof pieces on top. However, because the roof pieces need support from underneath, you can't immediately build them all the way up to the apex, so we have to create something of a support walkway. We'll have to place ceilings adjacent to the top of the highest roof piece you can place and create a small pathway to give support to the roof so you can build it higher. It's kind of difficult to explain properly, but hopefully you can see in the video what I'm having to do to be able to build this roof higher. I also used pillars on the balcony below to run up and give some sort of like aesthetic structural support to this support system for the roof. You'll have to do this throughout the build to support the roof, and at first I kind of didn't like it, but on the inside of the build it actually makes the roof look a bit more complex and interesting once you build the walls around the pathway, and it gives the build some more depth. Finally, when the peak of the roof is complete, I then extended the roof out over the porch area at the front of the build. I used ceilings to support the roofs with sloped sides and a wall at the front of each ceiling to create solid blocks for the roof to sit on. I then used inverted sloped sides underneath the ceilings and ramps to connect ceiling to ceiling, smoothing out the overhang into sort of an inverted slope. I then decided to remove one of the ramps on either side and create another solid block, which will connect to pillars that run down onto the porch, giving the roof some support from underneath. And finally, I built a gazebo outside the build. I used wedge foundations at max height to create a circular base plate, then using square foundations on each wedge to extend the base out in sort of a star kind of shape, then using wedges again to create another full circular base plate. I then placed frames around the entire gazebo with a doorway at the front. I then placed 6 pillars on the central wedge foundations and used wedge and regular ceilings to create a circular roof that matches the foundations. I used slope roofs and wedge roof pieces on top of the ceilings to start off the roof, then placing pillars inside the central gap of the roof, using wedge ceilings to create another ceiling there, and then using again wedge roof pieces to finish off the roof. When that was done, I went back inside the gazebo, got rid of both sets of pillars and the larger circular roof, leaving only the smaller circular roof at the top to create a lofty ceiling. So, when the shell of the build was done, it was then time to of course furnish. I lit the inside and the outside of the build mainly with radium torches, as the light they give off is a little bit more neutral than the torches and they look a lot more luxurious. Entering the gazebo first, this structure is designed as a gathering place for many guests, with plenty of woven stools around a central brazier. The porch at the front of the build is covered by awnings and the overhanging roof above, with a guard watching for intruders. The main hall is a large and complex structure decorated with planters, statues and tapestries. Heading to the back of the ground floor, we'll first visit the kitchen. This room utilises the Crafty Counters mod to keep the room organised, linked to the mod in the description below. With various cooking counters and plenty of plates, mugs and bowls, this room is the perfect functional kitchen for a large mansion. Next, for the storeroom that serves the kitchen. This room is where everything that's not currently in use is kept, including, silverware, dry ingredients and raw meat. This room serves a very clear purpose for the adjacent kitchen. Next, across the hall for the dining room. This large room is of course where dinner is held, with a long table adorned with regal chairs and plenty of room for guests. Next for the craft room, where many things are created and repaired for the mansion. This room contains various stations for all sorts of necessary production, including the new Turanian artisan table. Again, this room heavily features the use of the Crafty Counters mod. Heading upstairs, there is another guard to protect the bedrooms. The balcony area works very well to add extra depth to the build. First, we'll head to the guest bedroom, a smaller bedroom with a large bed and some storage for clothing. Overall, this room feels very luxurious. Next, across the hall, we'll look at the master bedroom, a slightly bigger bedroom that has some more storage and decoration and connects to the private study. This room is the private study of the resident of the mansion and gives the impression of a very busy man, decorated with storage and plenty of notes on various subjects. Next, for the lounge, a room of leisure that includes another writing desk, a fireplace, table, chairs and some nice decorations. This room also has access to the attic through a hatch near the fireplace. The attic is the main storage room of the entire mansion, offering plenty of large chests arranged in lines that offer a massive amount of storage, without having all the storage cluttering all the other rooms throughout the build. And there we have it, a mansion in the Exiled Lands, made with the new Treasures of Turan DLC. Thank you very much for watching. This is probably the biggest Conan Exiles build I've made so far, and whilst it was frustrating at times, especially when the clips corrupted, I'm very pleased with how it actually did turn out. If you've enjoyed this video, leave a like and let me know in the comments below if you have any build suggestions for the future. The next video will be a Witch's Voodoo Hut as per a viewer suggestion, followed by a Bard's Academy, another suggestion from a viewer, so any build suggested will come straight after the Bard's Academy is finished. Don't forget to join our Discord through the link in the description and check out the channel whilst you're there. We've just had a big spike in subscribers, views, comments, likes and everything lately, so welcome to all the new viewers and thank you all for the support lately. If you're new here and you like what you see, subscribe to the channel as there is plenty more coming. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to be the first to see the next video, and of course join us on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.